Welcome to Souls in Harmony. My name is Aaron Murphy. This is my podcast where I discuss what I love and adore about music with other people whose lives and livelihoods are built around music. The pitch of this show is that I'm going to invite people on to discuss the things that really light them up, that make them feel, deeply connected to the world, to other people, or the things that kind of give them a feeling of that sliver of divinity or of oneness, happiness, joy, creativity, passion, curiosity, just a connection or something that connects them to others or themselves. There's something in there, I hope. Maybe not all of those words, but something that will, I hope, kind of flick a switch in your head. You'll go, oh yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. I hope there's that moment for you, at least listening to this podcast. And for everyone, it's different. We're going to be talking about music specifically, because for me, that's what I've kind of bound my life up in. And for everyone, it's different. The thing that really connects them, that fills them with that something, with that oneness, could be, competitive, or it could be just the challenge that they face, the joy of overcoming. It could be the progression and, seeing how things change, the journey, how music maybe stays the same, whereas life changes. And so the context and the art are decoupled in a sort of a beautiful way that mean different things over time as they sort of relate to one another. And I think things do change over time. I think the thing that connects you maybe to music or to the people I will be talking to about music is going to be very different, depending on where they're at in their careers, and depending on, they may have memories of a time when it was something very different, but there was always that something. And this podcast is an attempt to get to the heart of that something. There's no eternal right or wrong relationship with music. Music has always been here and always will be, in the sense that, there will be rhythm for as long as we have heartbeats. There will be pitches for as long as we have voices. There will be harmony for as long as there is more than one of us on this earth. And that idea that all of those things are so fundamental to our being, to the existence of everything, that they will never go away. They will always be something. And I think that's true of music, and certainly for me, that's true. Hermeto Pascoal, who is this incredible Brazilian musician, famously plays a teapot on stage, and it's great. And he's got this, teapot among very many other improvised instruments. But he has this saying, Tudo E Som, all is sound. And, music is organic and natural to us in the same way that a heartbeat is. But it's natural to the universe at large. There is a constant background atmospheric hum that, for humans, having grown up on this planet, we crave it. If it's gone, we feel weird. People find, if they go into those incredible acoustic dampening rooms that, certain universities and studies centers have built, 100 feet below the ground, where there's absolutely no noise, like the decibel level is 0.1 or something like that. They go in and they feel weird. They hear the blood rushing around inside their head. They hear the internal rhythms of the body, and it's quite uncomfortable because we crave that little bit of something in the background. There's a reason people sleep with white noise on, It's a complete sensory experience, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So to return a little bit, this podcast is for me to get to explore those feelings, how they've changed and how they relate to me and my own behavioral foibles. But it is as much for that as it is for you and for the guest to sort of have that conversation as well, which is something we forget maybe in the current economic climate of attempting to be an artist of any kind, or especially when you're maybe focused on practice or focused on composition, it can be quite easy to lose sight of the seed within that sort of has grown into that career of trying to make money, or has grown into that, desire to study or to further your kind of pursuit of something. So the point of this is all for me to chat with someone, to connect with them, to resonate with them about this thing that we love, this thing that we have devoted ourselves to. And that's why I've picked the name Souls in Harmony. So if you'll allow me a little bit of a philosophical tangent anecdote here, I'm already taking you all the way off the rails, so just bear with me a little longer. My mother is a gardener and a horticulturalist. Her passion is, and always has been, for things that grow and for cultivating sort of a beautiful garden space for herself, or if failing the actual space for that, just growing plants and having things that she takes care of. So when I first learned to read, and I love reading and I always have, so it was kind of a pleasure for me. This memory is sort of a warm memory for me. One of the things that I learned to read was there was a poem on our bathroom table, and it was about having a garden and how there is things that are almost the same about having a garden and cultivating a soul. And it was the idea of cultivating a soul that actually became kind of my allegory, or my kind of imagery when thinking about things of this nature. Everyone gets a plot, but a plot is not a garden. You have to cultivate your own garden. You have to plant what you want in it. You deadhead the things you want to bloom, and you weed the things you don't. And, you have to take care of it regardless of what weather systems are local to you. You have to deal with the soil as it is. And it's much like choosing the things in your life that are important to you. And so this podcast, I guess, was for me, someone whose garden is planted with musical things, to get to hang out with and chat and see the commonalities that I have with other people who have planted their garden in similar ways. Now, they probably have different species and weather systems, challenges and routines and all of those different things. But, you can take this analogy as far as you like. I'm going to stop now. But it was for me to get to talk with those people. And what I guess at a certain time in my life, what inspired me about that was that, this idea, this soul, it's not yours by default. It's not predestination or predetermined. You do it. You build it. And there are people who have had very different challenges and very different ways of getting here, ways of thinking, upbringings that have devoted their whole lives, their souls in some way, amateur and professional. You don't have to be earning money, because I don't think that's actually the fairest assessment of your devotion, is whether or not you earn money. But they've devoted all of themselves to music. Obviously musicians, but choreographers, engineers, recording engineers, DJs, choir directors, people who use singing or music as a sort of a well-being art. Like, all of these people have in some way realized that this sound connects us. Everything is sound, all is sound. We're all connected. So in the garden analogy, I guess we're all of this earth. But to let that analogy drop, we are all human. We have this shared ancestry. We've got way more in common than we don't, It's this aspect of humanity that I want to explore. We are, like, as I think it's Carl Sagan, we are an aspect of the universe that's gained sentience and is looking at itself and questioning why we are the way we are. we have this language that we all delight in, that we all love, and it's music. Now, it's not about genre, it's not about any category that we might sort of artificially apply to that word music. Even the word music doesn't do justice. You know, words in general don't do justice. Words are abstractions of the real thing that we use to communicate, but a word can't capture the experience of the sound. You know, the pitch and the rhythm of a lover's voice when they tell us they love us for the first time, or the bustle of our home place going on behind us that lets us know we're home and safe, or the sharpness in someone's words when they're shouting at us, when they're angry. You know, those are things that we can hear. We don't need the words. The sound is enough to understand. There is something very different about, you know, the cry of grief and the cry of joy. And we can sense that. It's the same way we can hear the difference between hot water being poured and cold water being poured, which I still think is class. But words and language, in the sense that we have built them human languages, they're abstractions from reality, and those abstractions have baggage. They've been coloured by how they've been used against you or for you or about you. So I try not to get caught up too much on the words. I'm trying to connect at a level deeper than words, and that's what music does for me. Music at its heart is sound that communicates, that connects, that vibrates and flows through and across everything. So, Tudo E Som. Everything is sound, or at least vibration. Our mum's voice when we were in the womb traveled to us in sound waves through the amniotic fluid. The sunlight that warmed us and grew our food when we were first emerging as a species was light waves. Gravity is a wave. They literally just figured that out. They've thought about it, but it's a wave. There are gravitational waves. You know, the whole universe, if you think of it in a very broad sense, could be built and undone by sound. Everything has a frequency. And that's kind of where the second part of this podcast, the second part of the name of this podcast comes from. Harmony. It's a musical term to describe the way in which two or more notes relate to one another. So harmonizing, or that idea of being in harmony, is basically just two vibrations that are connected either by time or by context. So for example, in a 12-tone equal temperament system, as we have learned in the West, the smallest increment apart that two notes can be is a semitone. A semitone is that distance you hear in the Jaws theme tune. You know, do 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 do. That's a semitone. It's the smallest increment we have. It's one small step away, and they're played separately. But if you play them together, you could have unison, or then you could have together. That sounds a little bit more tense. It's not bad. Harmony is just the relationship. And this episode, I guess, is my semitone. My first small step away from home. So, welcome to the journey. Welcome to this little step of harmonizing with someone else, of having my vibrations and their vibrations in the same context at the same time, to create something else. So just a few little points then about this show, so that I can kind of set expectations for it. This isn't simply going to be an interview, kind of talking points promo show for artists to push their work. I will absolutely promote the artists that are on it, mostly because everyone I'm asking to join me on this is someone I really admire, and whose music I've listened to and can appreciate. But that's not, we're not just doing this sort of late night talk show slot where you play a song and then talk about your new album. What I want is to have a nice chat, maybe a very deep chat, or maybe a shallow and joyful chat, but at least there'll be a meeting of minds, an understanding with someone who is soulfully bound up in music as I am, and that's the desire. This show is something I'm doing because I enjoy it, and that's going to be for at least, as long as I can do it, that is going to be my overwhelming urge to do this, is that these are chats I really enjoy, and I think others will too, and I want to show off some of these artists, but I also want to normalize the conversation around expression and connection in music, whatever shape that might take, whether it is the very kind of competitive like musicians who love that challenge, who love to like get into shredding contests or whatever, or it's someone who uses music as a way to heal, like sound baths and that sort of thing. I want to talk with those people, and in doing so, I think we will get a little closer to understanding the impossible to put into words nugget of what music is to humans as a species, but also to us as individuals. So I have a preference for recording this in person over a cup of tea and some biscuits. I don't have money to pay people, so they are doing this out of the goodness of their heart, and right now that's what it's about. It's enjoying the chat with someone, getting to vibe with them. So while my planned release schedule for this season is 10 episodes released every 2 weeks on Monday mornings, Irish time, starting next Monday with the wonderful Jennifer McMahon. She's an absolutely beautiful musician. I've already recorded the episode with her. I'm very, very fortunate that she agreed to come on, and I really hope you're going to love it, because she's had a fascinating career, a really fascinating view on music, but also just it's a really lovely chat, and it felt like it, and I hope that you will enjoy that too. So I'm going to keep that format for this season. I can't promise that anything that I say right now isn't going to change. I reserve that right. But at the moment, I have free time to make this podcast happen like that, and I've got enough petrol money to get to those artists. And if any of that changes, you'll hear about it. I will keep you in the loop, probably through social media or through the email mailing list. I'll put in the show notes how to access both of those things. I can't perceive every outcome, so for now, this is how it is. And I'd like for this show to always be free to anyone who listens to it. I want the podcast to be free and available. So that is my overarching goal in distributing it, is making sure, with whatever means I have, to make sure that it is available to you. There is an email for this podcast if you want to email in, give me some feedback or whatever. I will try my best not to listen to anyone else's idea of what this should be, but I'm open to doing it better if I can. And so there will be a respectful boundary there as to, I will listen and I might take on board, but it's on me to listen. If you want to get in touch, I would love to hear from you though, and I would appreciate that. So soulsinharmonypodcast@gmail.com is the name of the email address, all one word. And then I'm on Instagram, soulsinharmonypodcast. I'd love to grow this into something bigger, but for now I'm just going to do my best, let it do its thing, produce the content I want to produce and put it out as well as I can. If you want to help me out, I would love that, and I'd love and appreciate you for it. But if not, I'll still be here doing my best, and you can come back anytime. So, welcome to Souls in Harmony, the podcast. I hope you're going to enjoy it. This episode is just a little introduction as to what's going to happen with the podcast, what I want from it, and what my views on it will be going forward. Most weeks, you will not be hearing me talk as much about myself, except where it relates or helps me to relate to the experience of others. That is how we talk. We talk about life through the medium of ourselves very often, and that is how most of us connect. I will always do my best to connect with someone as well as I can. So If you want to join me in understanding what these wonderful artists view as beautiful, important, and fundamental about music, if you want to vibe and harmonise with them in that way, then come along with me. Monday, the 10th of July, 2023 will be our first episode. Be good, take care. Everything is sound.